Well, good evening and welcome. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight on and it's not Talking Sip Saturday night. Actually, I need to change that. This is in review. Let me see if I wonder if I can change that title there. Let me see if I can change it. Edit name and edit highlight. It's in review. Make a quick change here. Talking Sip is Saturday night, and we're just a few minutes away from Saturday night. Few days from Saturday night. In review. That's it. Sylbourne Sydial in review. Yeah, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight, the 9th of the 1st, 2025. I believe this is the first show for the in review, where we look at some of the latest news, review some of the latest news which are happening over the airwave over the world. There's so much thing which are happening. As you can see, the topic tonight is grooming gangs. Elon Musk public inquiry knife crime. Uh, it's like when I say Elon Musk, I mean like Elon Musk is taking a pop shot as to what is happening in the world. But you know, I think it's very important when it comes on to freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and if you can recall during the course of the um, COVID period, people, even the word COVID, you couldn't even say COVID sometimes and discuss it, because what would happen is a situation whereby, you'd be shut down. I remember being shut down a couple of times during that time, whereby it's like you could see a hand just went into your phone and just shut it down on Instagram. That's why I created and went on the YouTube bit and been on the YouTube bit there, because you're able to save it and save the show. Well, I want to thank those who are joining. Actually, those who are joining me on different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and let me go live also on Instagram and TikTok as well. For those on TikTok, of course, for you to see the discussion on TikTok. And to see you got to go onto YouTube. I just put the TikTok there so you can see my face. But it's very important to go on to the YouTube channel, or the Facebook. YouTube is much better. Yeah, and I'm hoping to have one of my guests tonight, if anything, Gary. But either way, there's so much information, there's so much discussion that one can have, whether you have a guest or not. So without further ado, let's crack on. Yeah. Yes, yes. Now this is Tuesday night. Now let me just sort of set the stage in a bit. And first of all, I want to set the stage in regard in Elon Musk and maybe the biggest fight yet, UK showdown. I did an article which I posted, but I'm just going to read a bit of it. The recent showdown between Elon Musk and the UK government stems from Musk's commentary on the UK's handling of historical child sexual exploitation cases, often referred to as grooming gangs. Here's a breakdown of some of it, whereby the grooming gang issues over several decades. Numerous cases of child sexual exploitation by gangs of men, predominantly of Pakistani descent, have been uncovered in various towns across England. These cases have sparked public outrage and raised questions about institutional failures to protect vulnerable children. Keir Starmer's role. Keir Starmer, the current leader of the Labour Party and the Prime Minister, he was a former Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, from 2008 to 2013, which is equivalent to Paula Llewellyn in Jamaica, if one is following what's going on in Jamaica. He has faced scrutiny regarding the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, handling of these cases during his tenure. Now, Elon Musk intervention, and many people have been questions about the invent or the advent of Elon Musk, taking pop shots, is that Musk, primarily through his social media platform X, formerly Twitter, has weighed into this sensitive issue. He has accused Starmer of being complicit in the failures to address these crimes, alleging that prosecutions were potentially overlooked for political reasons. He also criticized Jess Phillips, a Labour MP and safeguarding minister, and called for her imprisonment, called her a witch. Those are some of the terms that she's used. TikTok, of course, TikTok don't like when I say certain things, but this is a discussion. I'm so glad that they're talking about freedom of speech now, where X is saying freedom of speech, where Mark Zuckerberg has come out now and say freedom of speech, and he wasn't happy, and he was put under pressure during the COVID period. Yeah, la di da di da di da. Yeah, Musk comments have drawn strong reactions from UK politicians. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, you know, former, condemned Musk's lies and misinformation, accusing him of exploiting the issue for his own purpose. Other politicians have defended Starmer's record and criticized Musk's inflammatory rhetoric. The debate on freedom of speech and misinformation, this situation has also ignited a debate about the limits of free speech on social media platforms. Some argue that Musk is exceeding his right to express his views, while others contend that his statements are, you know, harmful misinformation that could incite and undermine trust in public institutions. Key points of contention: accuracy of Musk claims. The central point of contention is whether there's evidence to support Musk's claims of Starmer's complicity in any wrongdoing. Many argue that there is no basis for these accusations and that they are politically motivated. The appropriateness of Musk's language is another question. Musk's use of strong language, such as accusing Starmer of being complicit and calling for Phillips' imprisonment, has been widely criticized as inflammatory and also irresponsible. Role of social media in political discourse, and that is something very important because maybe people ask for it to shut down, but successive prime ministers, presidents now have seen to their success as a result of social media. This incident highlights the growing influence of social media platforms in shaping political discourse and challenges of combating misinformation and harmful content online. In essence, the showdown between Musk and the UK is a complex issue involving historical injustices, political accountability, freedom of speech, and the role of social media in contemporary society. Yep, and that is one of the key things that set the stage. And there was a debate last night and discussion whereby the government lost. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mr. Garry Graham, who is the man who can tell you everything of what I just said a while ago. I just reel off these things, but he's going to tell you everything. Gary, good morning or good afternoon, where you are.
Well, thank the Lord. I'm still here in the land of the living. It's great to Happy New Year. Let me start anyway. Happy New
Oh, is
Year
that?
to
Oh,
you.
yeah. Oh, yes. It's the first time on the show. Yeah. Happy New Year again. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great
There's
to
a
be.
song.
It's
There's a
great to
song
be.
that says I'm still standing, but of course we are sitting down. Yeah.
Well, we're sitting, but we're still.
Yeah. We're sitting down, but we're still standing. As they say with Rosa Parks, while she was sitting down, but she was standing up in herself.
Yeah,
Standing up for justice and everything. Gary, as I said each time and each week, and ladies and gentlemen, this is Sir Gary Graham, Reverend Gary Graham, is that every week there's new things. You can never, and I said a while ago, even if nobody comes on to the show, but there's so many different topics that one can look at. And the new year has started off, I would say, with a bang. With a bang. We got the advent of President Trump coming in. I was just watching the funeral earlier with him and Obama having a chat. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to see if I can see the video because everybody is saying that they're enemies, but the way they're chatting, you say, "Hang on a second, man, who has been fooling us? These guys seem to be buddies." Is it the media trying to tie us up in a certain way? and,
well,
and
I
so
mean, I think when it comes to something like that, it's
yeah,
like um, it's like uh, for instance, when Michael Manley and Edward Siaga was running things in Jamaica, you'd really think
yeah.
that they were enemies, but behind the scenes they were there playing domino and having drinks behind the scenes. So it's not always what is perceived to be.
Mm. And also the whole thing about it is that, and there were also what should I say, subjective PNP, JLP, or so. There were godfathers and godmothers of different persons. And I remember,
Yeah,
Gary, there's a paper in Jamaica which I don't know if it is still there in the newspaper. It was called the Flare, and the Flair was a magazine that shows all the big events happening and the parties uptown and so like that. And when you look, all of them are together, while downtown are showing the ghetto or whatever like that. These guys fighting and killing when these guys are just upstairs having fun,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But anyway,
So sometimes when you look at, when you hear, as you said, as you actually said, when you hear the media, they paint a different picture than in reality. Trump and Obama could very much be, I wouldn't say best of friends, but
yes,
there certainly isn't any animosity between them at all.
this there could be what should I say? There could be talking and still having conversation in the background there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to I'm going to play a video before we start, and since we're on that topic there, just play a quick video of the funeral. It's a quick video of a part of the funeral there, and I just hope that it's a lovely Christian song. Though, what do you call it? "Be Still My Soul." Is that the song? Be still my soul. No, 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 no. Let me see if I can find it. And those guys buddies, man. And they buddy.
I mean, I didn't see what's his name.
Bush.
Bush never
Acknowledge.
He never acknowledged Trump, did he?
He did not acknowledge Trump. He did not acknowledge Trump. I realized that. But Obama had no choice in the matter because he was sitting right next to Obama, sitting right next to Trump. And I don't have the video, but after that, you had Kamala came in with her husband, and you had Biden came in after. But what was also interesting is like Trump and Biden was having conversations, and it's like Kamala turned around and said, "What's going on there?" You know, and see they're having some jokes, as you can see from the video which I see playing. Just a few minutes, few seconds left. Yeah, and Biden and Trump having a good time there, you know. But anyway, yeah, go on, Garry.
I mean, I think you see, amongst men like these, you're not going to find, you will not see them sideline each other. I mean, they're not going to act out of sorts. They won't act out of sorts.
Yes.
You know, they'll hold their dignity, and that's one thing I like about it. Really, I mean, that's something that is said sadly among some of us, but they'll have their dignity.
Well, when you have the King's speech or the Queen speech before the King's speech, and Blackwood come and knock the door and say, "You're all directed to come to, or ordered to come to the King's, or come to the House of Lords," and then they shut the door, and if Dennis Skinner was around, Dennis Skinner was say, "Off with your head," and so like that, you know, and Dennis Skinner was there. But what was very interesting was the fact that you'll always will see the success, the Prime Minister and the opposition walking and talking and having conversation, and behind them you got the father of the house and the father of the lady, which is Diana Butt, and the other guy, their name, and different success. Everybody's having a conversation. When Keir Starmer brother passed away over the holiday period, one of the first thing, and he said in the house today, Kemi gave him her personal condolences, and then he also said he thanked her for making contact with him over the holidays when his brother passed away, and he said he really appreciated that, you know. But of course, After that, then the gloves come off, and then they wait for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the first thing though, I don't know if you've been following, and ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following what's happening with Elon Musk, Nigel Farage, and the whole grooming issue which is going on there. I don't know if you've been following it, and Mike exposed it earlier.
Me? Is it
Yeah,
you wanna,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'm asking. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I think it's quite interesting, isn't it? To see
yes,
what how I think how the politics, world politics, is now devolving, if that's the word,
mhm, yes,
because these guys, well, like Musk, and you can't exclude Trump.
mm,
They're making, if I can use the term, overtures. That's a word that used to be used back in the day, but they're setting policy even before entering office, even before taking up
yeah,
responsibility. They are saying
mm,
and doing things which is unheard of, really. And
yeah,
for Elon to be making statements about what has happened, it's not the first time this has happened in England, is it? It's over a matter of years. I saw something, was it on ITV News or was it BBC? They when it first came up, this grooming, the Asian grooming of gangs,
yes.
or it was in 2014,
Yeah, I'm
2016.
not. Yeah, I'm not sure what the date was, but Starmer was the DPP at that time.
Yeah, and it's been coming through now. Obviously something is wrong, because obviously it hasn't been addressed. it
Yeah.
it for
Well,
Musk, for someone, not even Musk, and I don't even
mm,
think that Musk is the only one. He's the only one that has been brave enough to say something, but I don't
or the
think
one with a or the one with a high profile
well,
as the richest man.
yeah, yes, to say something.
Yes.
But something is definitely wrong. If now I'm not saying that Musk had every right to say something,
Mm.
but I don't think that Starmer, the prime minister, has really dealt with things properly, and he's not dealing with things now anyway. So I think it's come back to hurt him.
Well, we're gonna review as as we normally do the prime minister's question time, and you can hear when Kemi said she's not asking for another inquiry of everything, but it is doing another inquiry to deal with the gaps, from the previous one, because they are seeing now that there are many more places which weren't taken into consideration. What Starmer is actually saying is that there have been about 18 or 20 recommendations or so, and none of them have taken place. Can we hit back and say, well, 18 of them have been sort of started? Some of these recommendations by, I think it's Barnes J or whosoever who undertook that inquiry. So in a way, they are playing politics with this whole thing now, because it was under a labor regimes. It's under labor regimes, under labor councils, and therefore it might expose. I think it is something that is gonna get bigger, Gary. I think it's gonna get bigger and bigger, and it's gonna be a bombshell. It's gonna be a mammoth thing, because I believe there's gonna be much more. So what I believe that Starmer is trying to do is trying to quell it. But Nigel Farage has said he's now going to start to seek money to have his own inquiry, get some retired judge or so. Now, guess who is going to come into play right there now? You've got seeking money. Who is going to come into play? If you can put the money together. Ladies and gentlemen, who is going to come into play
Oh,
there?
Musk,
Musk.
because he's
Musk.
promised. Because I think there's been some indication that he's willing to bankroll um
Yes.
the Reform
Yes.
UK, isn't it?
Yeah. But even though he said he's going to plan to bankroll it, of recent days, there's been a, a falling out with Musk and Farage. And Musk is saying Farage is not good enough because of Tommy Robinson. Oh, Tommy Tommy Robinson, because what Elon Musk is saying, that Tommy Robinson is in prison as a political prisoner, but Farage is saying no, he's there because he what do you call it, contempt of court, and it wasn't Tommy who exposed or brought up the whole thing regarding the grooming gang, but he lent his voice to it.
Correct.
So even though there could be an issue between Nigel Farage and Musk as to who's supposed to be the leader, I don't like when Elon Musk saying we need a new leader there, we need a new leader in Germany. I don't like that bit. But Garry, guess what? We all say that still. We all say these things from wherever across the world. But the only thing is that Elon Musk has got a louder voice because of X and because of he being the richest man in the world. So therefore, I wouldn't be surprised when Nigel Farage is saying, I want to do an inquiry through reform. It is sending a signal to Elon Musk, who is saying, I think this thing needs to be sorted out. And then that's where the money going to come from. Elon Musk, I believe.
Yeah. I think Nigel is onto a good thing. And when I say that, I mean in regards to having a third political party that is heard and is going to be felt. The Liberal Democrats, okay, they did their stunt or their stint. I think they're ineffective, really. Now I think they're ineffective.
You need to do bouncy jump. The leader needs to jump up and down and jump off a kite.
If he needs to do something like that, then fine.
Yeah.
But but I think Farage is making. You see, what Farage is doing is what other political leaders couldn't do. He is bringing or allowing the electorate to think.
Yes,
I mean, that's what he's doing. He's bringing in a process where the electors or the electorate needs to think.
Yes,
It's not just a Labour Conservative, a two-tier party thing. There's a third one that is bringing the British electorate to the point that they need to start thinking, what is it that the Labour Party is doing? What are they really doing? And what is the Conservative? Because the Reform Party seems to be more conservative than the Conservative Party. Really,
well, you're correct. That's the thing whereby a lot of persons in Reform, they're really conservative persons, and it's like Nigel Farage is speaking certain tones of the Conservative. But what Nigel Farage is trying to make sure he doesn't do is to go too far right, and that is why he's trying to distance himself from Tommy Robinson. Because if he goes too far right, then he become a bit oblivion. Nobody's going to want to, because they're going to say, "Sure, that's a racist party." If anything,
well, he doesn't want to go as far as Trump, because Trump is far right. I mean, look at one of the election promises that he wants to do. He wants to deport all foreigners, or illegal immigrants. That's what he wants to do.
But isn't that what the UK want to do as well?
Well, no. I mean, the Labour Party is not that. I mean, what has the Labour Party done in order to stem the flow of immigrants across the channel? What have they done also with the illegal immigration or illegal immigrants that are already here? Now, remember, I've always said, and I will be constant in this, I've always said that I was never in agreement with what the Conservative Party had on board by them coming here and then shipping them off to Rwanda. I was never I was never in agreement with that. I'm in agreement with if they want to come here and they reach here, that is fine. And we should do everything, because listen, our parents weren't boat people, right? Our parents never rowed a boat across the canal to come here, but we are immigrants. You and
Yes.
I, we are immigrants, so we've got to look. We've got to have some heart for those who wants to come here. But
Yes.
what the Labour Party is, but what the Conservative Party is was really
Sure.
doing was wanting to do exactly what Trump has promised to do.
Mm.
Right? The Labour Party has said that they can do something better.
Yeah.
What have they done?
Mm.
They haven't done anything. I mean, they're not doing anything to stem the flow. I mean, there's more people that has come over in the last couple of months, isn't it? Than probably what was in the same period under the Conservative Party.
But what they're also saying is that the the immigration figures is not from the boat people, but immigration figures is from people who have come through the normal channel and the proper channel in a sense, you know, that is what is boosting up the figures. It is not the boat people, as
No,
they are
okay,
saying.
okay, okay. I would understand that. But at the
Yeah,
same time, you see, they will highlight the boat people. I mean,
yeah,
that's what's being highlighted on the news. It's
yeah,
it's it's not the illegal immigrants that's coming over on the planes or coming
yes,
and staying. They're not highlighting that at all, Observe. In
yes.
fact, they're not saying anything about that at all. All
Mm,
we're being told of on in the news is
yeah,
the boat people. That's all we're told.
yes, yes. That is so correct as well. but in wrapping up the bit with Nigel Farage, um, you think that Nigel, or what people think, Nigel Farage is the best person for reform now? I see. Do you think reform is going to last, or reform is like is gonna bubble out, is gonna implode or so?
Well, listen, if Nigel Farage bows out, like
Mm.
what he did with what was the other
UKIP,
party?
UKIP.
With UK. If he bows out now, then obviously reform is just going to fall just like UKIP. It's not really going. Farage is the kingmaker, if I can use that term.
Yeah,
Farage is the one who has the vision. He's the visionary of reform,
but
and
doesn't that? Yeah, go on. Sorry, Gary. Keep talking. Yeah.
and for reform to have the impact that it needs to have in this country, in the political arena, Farage has to remain at the top. He has to remain there. He can't think of bowing out and giving it to somebody else. That no, no. I mean, if he does that, reform. I mean, the Labour and the Conservative Party just going to take back that spot, and there won't be any real um, opposition.
So don't you think then, if that's the case, then, and ladies and gentlemen, I put that out there to you. And Milverton High, thank you. You say Money Men having a ball. Kenyama Brown, thank you for joining me on TikTok there. Vita as well on Instagram.
Well,
Garry,
Vita,
Yeah, man. I see Vita is hiding somewhere over there on Instagram. I can see her. Yeah, she's there on
Vita, Vita need to come out of the
Instagram.
bushes, man.
Um,
She needs to come
Garry,
and make us Brooklyn.
she need to show herself.
Yeah,
Garry,
man.
but the question is this: if Nigel Farage is the glue that holds things together, isn't that a problem?
It can be a problem. Yes, it can
Mm,
be. But at
mm.
this initial point of
It's an issue.
because reform has just started.
Yes, yes,
Reform
yes.
is just taking its place. Now, which other individual, in reform party has the same tenacity as Farage right now?
It's a Robert Lowe, the guy there, the one that Elon Musk is trying to get over to be the one, Lowe or
No,
something like that.
no. I mean, Nigel needs to stay where he's at for the time being. I'm not saying that he should stay there forever and a day. I'm
Yes.
saying he needs to stay there so as to give reform the foundation that it needs within the political arena. Everybody knows about Farage, and I believe that there
Yeah.
is a greater amount of support that Farage has within the electorate than what we are led on to believe.
Yes.
I believe in
Yes.
if another election came around and he stood again as whatever, I think he would get far more votes the next time around than he got the first time. Now I could be
Mm.
wrong. I'm not an analyst, a political analyst. I'm not. But I just
Yes.
feel that Nigel, he does speak for the ordinary man at times. And he's
Yeah.
asking the
But
question that many are asking.
yes, and he's nailing it. He's nailing it and giving people an opportunity to ask these questions. It is like what Mark Zuckerberg came out and said recently that they're removing the fact checkers, Gary. How these guys that used to you write something on and these persons interfere in the midst of your discussion and trying to tell you how to think. It used to so annoy me when you get this thing about, oh, we think that your information. Oh. So what he said now is that he's going to follow the Elon Musk style. I believe Trump called these guys in and knocked them head together and said, "Listen, man, sort that out, man. I'm not the president for the next 4 years." And what Elon Musk said, what Elon Musk no, what Mark Zuckerberg said. Mark Zuckerberg said there was a lot of pressure which they were under before to operate a particular way, but now you want to line up with the Elon Musk factor. Mean to say that if you post something and it is false, then people will come in and correct it instead of fact checkers coming. It is like you and I having a conversation, Gary. You and I can have a conversation and we disagree now. And then while we disagree, we actually, because of we have an interest and have respect for each other, we actually divulge and try to find the truth. That's conversation, isn't it? So what Elon Musk is saying and what these guys are saying is that let people speak and let people have conversation. Don't come in and try to tell them how to think. But of course, this is what I said again, and this is what I said. This is what I said. The more people write and type and record themselves, what they are doing, Gary, they are giving evidence when you're ready to take them on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true,
giving
true.
evidence, giving evidence. Or so. But I want to go on to Kemi. Can we look at Kemi? This Prime Minister's
Yes.
question time was
Go ahead.
this Prime Minister's question time was very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, Kemi, we tend to do a review of the PMQs, and this one I believe was very interesting yesterday. It lasted more than 9 minutes. It went for near to 40 minutes. Um, let's see if we can hear something here.
Mr. Speaker, the whole House has heard him on behalf of my party, our sincerest condolences. The new year has started with a focus on the decades-long rape gang scandal. Across the country, thousands of girls were tortured and sexually abused at the hands of men who treated them as things to be used and disposed of, destroying many lives forever. The Prime Minister has mentioned previous inquiries. He is right. There has been an inquiry into child sexual abuse, but it wasn't about the rape gang scandal. In its 468 pages, it mentioned Rotherham just once. Is the Prime Minister confident that we know the full extent of rape gang activity?
Panellist. Can I first thank her for her condolences, and can I thank her for reaching out over the Christmas period when I lost my brother? I really did appreciate that, and I appreciate it today. Mr. Speaker, on the question of a further inquiry, there have been a number of inquiries, some of them localised, including the Mayor of Manchester's inquiry recently, and of course a national inquiry Professor Jay carried out, took 7 years, had 20 recommendations, none of which actually were implemented by the party opposite when they were in government. Now, this is a really serious issue. We must focus, obviously, on the victims and survivors. There's no fixed view on the victims and survivors about a further national inquiry. There are mixed views. But there is a view, and I share this view, that what is needed now is action on what we already know. We already know, myself from personal knowledge when I was chief prosecutor, that warped ideas, myths and stereotypes about victims were at the heart of this. We've known that for a decade. The J report called for mandatory reporting. I called for it 11 years ago. What we need now is action. What can't be tolerated is the idea that this afternoon, members opposite will vote down a bill which protects children, include Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let me just, one of the provisions in the bill of school to prevent abusers ever taking those children out of school. I implore members opposite to defy the misleading leadership of the Leader of the Opposition and vote for a really important bill.
Okay, Garry, first of all, what do you think about, I like a sort of sense of firmness in Kemi, I must say. And I also like a level of firmness in Starmer at the same time. What do you think about this first round? I call it a round.
No, well, I think it was only pleasantries, you know. It was only pleasantries, and they just started.
That's just warming up. That's just warming up.
Yeah, I don't see any difference. I mean, obviously each question time is different from the last. So
yes,
to some extent, it's like two animals, and in this case, two political animals that when they meet, they're learning from each other. They're learning, you know, how they question and their mannerisms and their type of question and such. So they're just sizing each other up. So I think this is normal behavior as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the next one.
Mr. Speaker, I'm shocked that the Prime Minister would say that actions were not taken. He knows full well that we accepted 18. He knows full well that we accepted 18 of the 20 recommendations in the J inquiry and went further, launching.
Okay, that's a point which I mentioned earlier. She's saying the Conservative accepted 18 of the recommendations of the 20, and she said that he knows as well. And what the Labour Party is being saying is that the Conservative have not touched this issue or the recommendation by Barnes J. But Kemi has just pointed out now, and she wouldn't lie to say that they've accepted the recommendation of 18. But I don't know if the recommendation which has been accepted, have they been effected, you know, if they start. Yeah. Let me just continue. Yeah. Sorry, you want to say anything? Or just carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
A gangster task force that found 550 more perpetrators. That shows that there is still work to be done. In Rotherham alone, there have been over 1,400 victims. Across Oldham, Bradford, Bristol, Rochdale, and dozens more towns, there have been thousands more victims, but no one has joined the dots. No one has the total picture, and it is almost certainly still going on. One victim from Telford, and I know he says that victims have different views. We have different views across this house. But one victim from Telford says she wants a national inquiry because it will hold people accountable in a way that previous inquiries have not. It is very possible to have actions, take on more, and still have a national inquiry. So why won't he listen to victims and launch a national inquiry which would have the power to summon witnesses and make them give evidence under oath?
She says they accepted the recommendations. They didn't act on them. One of the Foundation was putting it happened for the 11 years. They've been tweeting and talking.
Just to make a point there, just like what I said, and Starmer's just brought it out now that they accepted the 18, but they have not actioned it. That's what Starmer is actually saying. They've accepted. You and I, there can be some discussions on something, some 20 points which have been set out, recommendations. Accepting it is one thing, but acting on it is another thing. But I can see where Kemi is coming from, as Kemi has set out her case, whereby that there could be much more, a wider grooming thing which is going on that one could actually miss if you stay within the narrow aspect of that inquiry which took place. She want to widen it out a bit. Anything you want to say, Garry?
No, go ahead. No.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just continue here with this discussion.
Okay, we've been acting. Well, Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition has been an MP, I think, for 8 years. Her party have been in government for 7.5 of those 8 years. She was the children's minister. She was the women's and equalities minister. I can't remember her, I can't recall her once raising this issue in the House, once calling for a national inquiry. It's only in recent days she's jumped on the bandwagon. Now, Mr. Speaker, in fairness, if I'm wrong about that, and she has raised it, then I invite her to say that now, and I will happily withdraw the remark that she hasn't raised it in this House in the 8 years that she's been here until today.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is being very specific because I have raised this issue. I've raised it in speeches. I've raised it publicly. He knows that as a minister, I would not have been speaking on this specific issue. I was not a Home Office minister. But Mr. Speaker, I will remind him about other victims who came to me who are the victims of the Tavistock scandal, who came to me as a minister. I didn't send them away like his safeguarding minister. As his Labour Party were calling me transphobic, that we launched the CAS review, which even his health secretary has accepted. So we do right by victims, Mr. Speaker. The reason why a national inquiry is important is because this issue is systemic. It has been involving local and national officials, the police, prosecutors, and politicians. He talks about some of the local inquiries, but these interlinked issues cannot be covered by local inquiries alone. In fact, the leaders of the Manchester inquiry resigned because they couldn't get evidence, they couldn't summon witnesses, and not a single person in a position of authority has been held to account. The Prime Minister called for 9 inquiries in the last Parliament. Does he not see that by resisting this one, people will start to worry about a cover-up?
Let's stick a pin right there. As to what she's actually saying, and she's still fighting and setting the stage there as to. And one of the reasons why I'm stopping this, Garry, is because I don't want any copyright thing, so that's why I'm breaking up the different sections and not letting us play fully like that. But I think Kemi is setting out her case, and what I do not understand is why the Labour Party is not actually accepting that point there for further inquiry. Because the further inquiry is needed, because it's like when you go on the train, they always say mind the gap. There's some gap in the whole evidence that need to be fully fleshed out, and I believe that is where this is falling short, and that is where and Elon Musk has come out and actually commended Kemi on Twitter as well in fighting that case. Now, another interesting thing I can say is that, to keep mentioning Manchester. Well, Andy Burnham, yeah, Andy Burnham, the mayor for Manchester, is actually wanting a second inquiry, a follow-up inquiry, and it's one of the most senior Labour figure who has actually come, because the recent vote which they just had yesterday regarding this was a whipped. So therefore, over 300 or so Labour MPs voted. Over 111 or so Conservatives, some of them abstained. So therefore, they whipped it. So therefore, people weren't able to vote on their free reign. Yeah? Can I continue, Garry?
I mean, I think in addition to what you're saying, I think that
Yeah.
Kemi is right that care is being very elusive. He hasn't answered any of them questions.
Yeah.
He's not answering the question.
Well,
He's
he never
deflecting.
asked a question. Well, every week we have been doing this. He doesn't answer questions, but they always say prime ministers don't answer questions, so he's not doing anything new. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue here. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying this as well.
And we have to focus on the victims and survivors, and it isn't helpful. This sort of lies and misinformation and slinging of mud doesn't help them one bit. Doesn't help one bit. Mr. Speaker, she raised a question of a victim with me, quite right to, and I accept that victims and survivors are in different places on this. Those that I've spoken to are worried about the delay of a further inquiry. The last inquiry took 7 years. That would take us to 2031. Now, these inquiries, amongst the issues that's been raised with me, and if she's been speaking to victims, they'll have raised this with her, is that it's very hard for victims and survivors to come forward to explain what's happened to them. They do not want to be rushed through this process, which is why the last one took 7 years. It's not sensible to suggest that this can be done in a hurry on the cheap and comprehensively. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, that would take us to, let's say, 2030, 2031. The victims that I've spoken to want action today. I agree with them on that. But what I don't understand, I genuinely don't understand, is why anybody today would vote against the Children Wellbeing Bill, which will protect children who are vulnerable today. It will kill the bill. It will stop those provisions for children exposed at risk today. I implore them, vote for the bill. Don't wreck this in this misguided way.
Mr. Speaker, it is very possible to have shorter inquiries, especially if they are covering work. Let's look at new areas.
You see that point? You see the point what she's saying now? See where she's coming from now? It's the previous one was limited, so the extra bit now of inquiry will cover those areas which was where the gap is. That's where she's coming from. If we just meticulously listen to what she's actually saying.
Former Labour MP and Pryor said that there were councillors and terrified of being labelled racist. A national inquiry would ask if there was a racial or cultural motivation to some of these crimes where white girls were seen, as Jack Straw said, as easy meat. The member for Rotherham was sacked from Labour's front bench for speaking out about rape gangs. Does the Prime Minister now recognise that sacking people for telling the truth creates a chilling effect that means victims aren't listened to?
Well, I'm very happy to call out anybody who hasn't acted properly in these cases. I've done it many, many times before, and it doesn't matter to me which political party they're in. I'll call them out and I will condemn them. Mr. Speaker, when I was Chief Prosecutor, I took measures to confront this head on. The first of the mass prosecutions for an Asian gang was in Rochdale. My team came to see me. It put a number of Asian men in the dock. They wanted the green light for the first of these cases to take place. I gave that green light, but on one condition, because it came to my attention that one of the men that was going into the dock had previously been arrested, but not charged. And I said, you can bring the first of these mass prosecutions, but only if you look back at the file where we weren't charged and tell me what went wrong with a report so that I can start to put it right. And that's what started the reforms I brought about. So that's the approach I took in practice, whilst others were tweeting and talking. It's the approach I would take now in any case where there's wrongdoing here. But what we've got to do now, Professor Jay has said this, we have had a number of strong findings. There are 20 on the table from Professor Jay. We've got to get on with action. Don't block it this afternoon.
Mr. Speaker, we need to focus on what this is really about. This is not about about the Prime Minister's work in the CPS. And I would say very respectfully to the Prime Minister, it's not about you. It is about the victims. Be a leader, not a lawyer. We know that people were scared to tell the truth because they thought they would be called racist. If we want to stop this from ever happening again, we cannot be afraid. The Labour Party has adopted the APPG definition of Islamophobia. That same APPG report said talking about sex groomers was an example of Islamophobia. This is exactly why people are scared to tell the truth. And the lack of clarity means that innocent British Muslims are smeared by association. That is not fair, and only a national inquiry can solve this. So will the Prime Minister look again at the Labour Party's adoption of the definition of Islamophobia, its chilling effect, and rule out introducing it in government?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker,
Do you think that the whole racist element or the Islamophobia and the targeting of the word Pakistani gangs or so is the issue in a way that they don't want it to come across as being calling a culture or a community generally
Who?
speaking? No, the whole that's what they're talking about from long time about it. They're very politically correct.
Well, that's all
You
it
know,
is. That's all it is. And I think, okay, I mean, would it be wrong? No, I was going to say something because it's known. It's known up and down the country. Yes, that the grooming gangs for girls and such is Pakistani, isn't it? That's a known fact. Now, politically, they don't want to say things like that because it's going to come to it. For them, it may come across, as you said, in a racist way. It's like the blacks. What's the blacks known for, really? I mean, what is synonymous, I would say, with blacks? What would you say, Bill?
Well, the stabbing, the knife crime and stuff like that. Is that what we're talking?
Yeah. I mean, anytime you hear of a knife crime, stabbing, or a gun, you know, you're not going to straight away think, oh, it's white, it's a white man, or it's a white boy, even though it may happen. But you're not going to hear automatically. The society doesn't think, oh, it's a white youth firing a gun, you know, or it's a white youth stabbing another person. No, automatically anybody that gets caught up, whether you're the victim or the perpetrator in that kind of crime, is automatically thought of as black. And so and so the thing about it, sadly, they don't look at it. These crimes, whatever the crime is not going to be addressed properly. I don't care what the crime is. It won't be addressed the way it should be because they're going to
decorate it and pretty it up
as race bring a racist element into it, and that's not what they want to do. So it's not going to be dealt with properly.
Because one of the things which you're going to touch on, which I went a bit touch on, but let's touch it now, is that the young boy which was recently killed on the bus a couple of days ago, the black boy, 14 years of age, and the narrative is that there, single mother, the mother, and also he's in the drillegram, and all these different. It fits the narrative, you know. And I think my good friend Stephen Akinsanya, I was trying to get him on earlier to talk today. I was listening to him on LBC talking about the whole thing. So it is a very interesting point whereby People are so afraid sometimes to just call things out as they are. And that is what has happened. We don't call things out as they are, so one places them and pushes them under the carpet, and then the carpet start to bulge and start to bulge, and then it gets dirty and nasty because you haven't dealt with it, because you're trying to play safe. But I believe not by playing safe, you actually create more harm.
Of
Let
course.
us just finish off with Kemi here.
I will call out any aspect that has prevented anybody coming forward or any case going forward when it comes to violence against women and girls, child abuse or child sexual exploitation, as I have been doing now for the best part of 15 years. But, yes, some people will say there should be a further inquiry. But that does, I accept that, but that means all the victims and survivors who are going to give evidence need to be in a position to do so. Not all of them are. I've been speaking to them. There are some that do think they are. It will take time. All of the institutions will have to give evidence. That will take time. This will delay things till 2030.
He's hiding, man. He's hiding. He's hiding.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
we already know what the major flaws are. And my argument is we should get on with that action.
What's the major
That's why
flaws?
we're bringing forward
What are the
bill
major
this afternoon.
flaws? What are the major flaws that he's talking about?
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has effectively told
Are the major flaws in wanting to do it again?
Yeah, he's saying there are
Is
major
that what you're
flaws.
saying? What are the major flaws?
Yeah.
Well, let's use this comparison, and this comparison is a bit way off. There's a DJ in Jamaica named Vibes Cartel, and Vibes Cartel was incarcerated because of allegations, some murder, or whatever like that. However, there was some tampering of jewelry and all those sort of things, and really and truly, they should have actually start the case all over again. And of course, he spent 13 years or so in prison. And as a result of that, he took it to the Privy Council and he was released based on technicalities. Right there. You know what I'm trying to say? So the flaws of that is that to start, the Supreme Court in Jamaica had a choice of actually doing the case all over again, because that's what the Privy Council said, send it back to Jamaica, and they decide. The Supreme Court looked at it and said, hang on a second, they're not going to find all these different witnesses again. Some of these witnesses die, and and all those evidence. So therefore, the best thing to do was just on technicality, let him go. And I believe this is on a lower level now with this particular case. It seemed like you're not going to find all the different evidence, same people again or so. And I believe that is where Starmer is talking about the flaws. But to his detriment and to his argument, that's not what Kemi is actually saying. What they're actually saying is dealing with the gaps, because they're talking about other areas in the UK. There could be other grooming gang, and that is why I fear that this thing could get much bigger when it finally push come to shove. If they don't deal with it now, Garry, and just try to deal with just 18 recommendation or the 20 recommendation. I need to look to see what are these recommendations. Yeah, I don't know if I answer the bit regarding the flaws.
Yeah. You've only done what you can do, really.
Yeah.
But again, as you said while you was talking, he's hiding. He's hiding these things.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to come out with anything.
Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah.
He knows if he says the right thing, if he said the right thing, which up to him is the wrong thing, he's in a whole lot of problem. He knows that.
Yeah.
So he says very little. He's trying to answer politically.
Yeah. And just to let you know, a couple of days ago or yesterday, there was the 3 million petition which was done. They had a debate in Parliament about it, not in the main area, but there's a big debate about it, and that is something that is going to be looked at again. Someone is actually saying that what they need to do is do another one now, pushing the Prime Minister and now to go for this recall for another election, because there's some bits that just came out which I'm going to really look at. But anyway, let's look at the final bit for Kemi.
told us that he's not able to do two things at the same time. This issue of a delay is a weak excuse. And I would say to him, who wish to smear all British Muslims based on the actions of a small minority. He is talking about distraction tactics. Let us have the truth. The Prime Minister cannot tell the House the full scale of the scandal. He doesn't want questions asked of Labour politicians who may be complicit. He won't listen to the victims. He won't listen to the victims who are calling for a national inquiry. He is making this all about a bill this afternoon. Later today, he will tell Labour MPs, including in Telford, Rochdale, Bristol, Derby, Aylesbury, Oldham, Bradford, Peterborough, Coventry, Middlesbrough, Newcastle, Ramsgate, to tell all of these people to vote against a national inquiry into the gangs which have systematically gang raped children in their constituencies. This is one of the worst scandals in British history, Mr. Speaker. How?
Note this point. Listen carefully.
Sorry? This is a very, very important issue that does matter to the country. It matters to all our constituents. I want to make sure they can hear what's being said by the Leader of the Opposition and the Prime Minister of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, this is one of the worst scandals in recent British history. But how are they going to explain to their constituents that obeying his whip is more important than doing the right thing?
In 2024, the best way to make money with Amazon.
Garry, the point I want to flag up right there. Sorry, let me just stop this thing here. Shut up. Yeah. The point I wanted to flag right there, and apparently the video was cut. It's a commercial right there. Was that Starmer came back and said, "This is the first time you call it a scandal." First time Kemi called it a scandal or so. You know. So when I look at that a while ago, and ladies and gentlemen, you can tell me what you think. I just see it like just political bantering, as someone would say, just political gesture politicking around. It's just not necessary. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. They say, Garry?
No, I just say it's sad. I'm hearing a lot of feedback.
Yeah. I can hear you clearly. Maybe it's from your side there. Let me.
Yeah.
What do you say, having a feedback?
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, everything I say comes back to me.
Well, you say having a feedback. Well, that means you can hear twice then.
Yeah.
At least you can hear a lot. Some people can't hear, Garry. You know, but well, just before we go, I just want to end on a positive note. Of course, we had the death of the young chap there, which is very sad and very unfortunate. The young man. Lots of questions to be answered and lots of issues with the family because he was in social care as well. He was in care. Out of London, and apparently found his way back to his mother, and which is very unfortunate, you know. And he's involved with gangs and involved with Graham, and what they are saying is that, you know, where are the men, where are the fathers? I think that bit is come back again. But I always like to say that the majority of black boys or majority of children are good children, you know. So one cannot actually paint a community of such a nature. And also not every single mother or a single father or a single home churn out bad children. You got homes with mother and father there and turn out with bad children. And also the gangs are somewhat replacing the father figure or the male figure at the same time, taking care of these boys and say, let me take care of you as well. So that is something that needs to be dealt with, and my condolences to the mother, and may rest in peace as well. But there's something I just wanted to flag up, and there's this lady called Barbara Mills. Barbara Mills recently became the chair of the Bar Society, the Law Society, the bar, and for 2025. And I'm going to find the video, because I believe sometimes we will talk about things and we share all the different things, but we missed out on some very positive things which are happening. I'm gonna share her here. Where she's. Okay, here she is.
Good evening. Attorney, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening's address by Barbara Mills KC, the chair of the bar for 2025. Before I hand over, I just want to say that Barbara has been struggling with laryngitis and has a bit of a weak voice, but she's determined to put the show on. So, Barbara Mills KC.
Good evening, Master Treasurer, distinguished guests, family, friends, colleagues.
That's not her real voice. She's having a problem with her voice, as I mentioned.
Temple Hall. At 6 o'clock this morning, poor old Piran, the chair's advisor, got the text no chair's advisor wants to get, which is that the chair had lost her voice. But you know, I've waited too long, you've waited too long, we've waited too long. So the show will go on. The baton has been handed over by Sam Townend. Sam, thank you for all your hard work last year and showing me what it looks like to go that extra mile for the profession. You will be missed, and we owe you a debt of gratitude. I am delighted and deeply humbled to be given the opportunity to lead our profession in 2025. I will do so flanked by Kirsty Brimlow, KC, and Lucinda Orr. This is the first time in Bar Council's history, 131 years, that its 3 office holders are women. About time too, frankly.
Yes, Gary. So anyway, I just wanted to just flag that up there. That's Barbara Mills. She's a barrister, and she's also a deputy high court judge as well. And she's the bar chair for 2025. You know, so we give congratulations to her, because there are positive things with it as well. Yeah. Any comments on that? Okay.
None at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, fair dues to her, and I congratulate her, and I wish her all the best, really, in her role. It'll give the other young women also the encourage them.
Yes.
To strive for the
excellent.
top.
Yes.
Just excellent.
No, that's fantastic. And just popping over into Jamaica, there was a prayer breakfast, I believe, for the government, and I think the PNP and JLP was there, and I think Mark Golden, the opposition leader, said he prays that the Integrity Commission will not be attacked or something like that vibe, and that corruption is not good for this country. And behind him, we say Andrew Holness. on his some for I on his paper looking down, you know. So we got the 2025, we got the so-called election in Jamaica as well. And also we've got the tabling of Parliament, which has been tabling Parliament for removal of the King of England as the head of state. I did a what should I say? There was a program a couple of days ago about it, and I think it was very important. I'm speaking to the person to make sure that that information goes out far and wide to everybody, you know, as well, so they can understand. Because they say it's not too late for things to happen. On this Sunday, Gary, you know Tony Kelly in Birmingham?
Tony Kelly. That name sounds. I'm sure I do. I think I do.
Okay, this gentleman here, Tony Kelly, diabetes ambassador and activist.
Okay, yes.
I'm going to have a discussion with him this Sunday, Sunday at 8 p.m. He was in Jamaica for a period of time, about a couple of weeks or so. I don't know if it was a month, going all over the country talking about diabetes and what you need to do. He's a diabetes ambassador and activist. So he's going to come on this Sunday at 8 p.m.
Wasn't he on this show sometime back?
Yeah, he was on some time back.
Yeah.
But what we're gonna be talking about is the diabetes bit, and then having that discussion with him on Monday night, because a lot of what I do is because I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, you know, so that's why I do a lot of walking and exercising. So it's always good to hear what he says when he went to Jamaica. Because he said in Jamaica people love sweet things, you know. And they love their food, they love their pork and everything like that. And I do recall when I used to go to York Castle High School in Brownstown, there was this shop called Spicy Nice. Jeez and peace, man. I used to love their their sugar bun, their crust, what it called, not croissant, their anyhow. When I went to Jamaica, I had to stop there, man. The place was still there. The shop was still there. They do their nice buns, they do everything homemade there. That was awesome. But boy, it was sweet, man. Boy, that look like something that kill you off from early days, you know. We feel it when we get older, Gary.
Well, that's true.
You know. So yeah, anyway. The last thing also is that have you heard about what Liz Truss said?
Yeah, she's if you're gonna sue Care.
She said, "Cease and desist, man. I didn't crash the economy. Cease and desist." Because every time everybody like to talk about Liz Truss crashed the economy or so, but some people are coming back and say, "Well, I can show you my mortgage statement right after."
Well, I mean, the whole world felt that. I mean, it's not only she's not living in the real world. I don't think she's living in the real world at all. She's somewhere living in a portal of another dimension.
Yeah, she said, "Cease and desist, cease and desist." It's like this 22 billion black hole that Labour keep talking about. Every time that comes up, I mean, I wonder. I look forward to the day when they can't say 22 billion black hole on 14 years. Because that's the two things. Since 14 years and 22 billion black hole, you know, that's what they tend to say. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining tonight. Sunday night, I'll have Tony Kelly, diabetes ambassador, at 8 p.m. and Saturday night Talk and Sip, where we're going to look at some other issues. I'll be discussing some of these points regarding the what we call it, the tabling of Parliament for removal of the King of England as the head of state, and some of the discussion which was had with Professor Rosalie Hamilton, Daniel Archer, and Jeanette Calder. There was Trevor Monroe as well, and these different persons, is to see how it can be broken down and given to average persons. But because sometimes a lot of these discussions, Gary, is concentrated with the learned, with those who are on the same level already. But what it needs to do is to be shared with the wider community, shared with persons as much as possible, because there are some different chinks in the whole plan for changing over from the King of England to whosoever or whatever. All right.
Okay, my friend.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, have a smashing evening and good night. Garry, all the best. And those on TikTok, those on Facebook, those on YouTube, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight, and we'll see you next time around. Peace out. Bye-bye.